Hi. Um, as you may know, I'm Emma, or as other people may know, Coffee and Commandos. I just want to start off by saying I am probably the most awkward person on this planet, and being on front of a screen video thing is not my forte. And I'm also really bad at electronics, so I'm sorry if this video comes off as not good or whatever. But pretty much I'm here because I've sat, I've watched, I've experienced, and I'm ready to break the silence. I want, as a group, to break the silence, and I hope this video inspires you to do so in any way, shape, or form. So I'm pretty much planning on sharing my story and talking openly about it. Um, Honestly, it's just to make the stigma disappear. I want the mental illness stigma to disappear. And I also want to let you guys know that I'm here for you. I'm here as a resource and outlet. Anything you need, I have your back always. So yeah, you're not alone in whatever you're going through, I promise. And there's people out there that care, and there's people out there that want to. So for the past 5 years, I've struggled with BDD. BDD is body dysmorphic disorder, and it's an obsessive compulsive disorder where you can't get past a perceived flaw in yourself or multiple flaws. BDD also usually comes with other just mental disorders such as eating disorders, social anxiety, OCD, anything like that. So that is what I have dealt with. I've dealt with all of those, and I continue to struggle, but I'm much happier, much better than I have been. This all started to begin sophomore year of high school. Can't really pinpoint a time, and I'm not really sure how to even share my story, but here goes nothing. So sophomore year, I started obsessing over things about myself. I couldn't stop looking in the mirror, but at the same time, I couldn't stand what I saw. And as time went on, I started avoiding situations completely because I couldn't deal with myself. I couldn't deal with being myself any longer. So I stopped hanging out with friends, and that's where it began. I did not communicate with friends, and when I did, I would always make excuses to why I could not hang out. I would always be the one to cancel, and they knew that, and it really did not make them happy either, and I don't blame them. But for me, I was so confused and lost about what was going on with me, why I was feeling this way, why I was so paralyzed I couldn't even leave my home, I couldn't get dressed or anything. I couldn't explain this to them because I didn't have the words to explain, and I felt honestly crazy. I felt insane. And when I did try to explain to anyone, including my mom, it would always be like, who cares? Just let it go. It doesn't matter. Like, they love you regardless. And I knew this about my friends, but I was paralyzed. I could not do these things. I physically could not get myself to do them. So I would make up lies. I would say, oh, my mom wouldn't let me, or I had other plans, or something like that. And they got tired of me canceling. And that's when I started losing friends. I started gradually not talking to them and just becoming more of an outcast and more secluded. By junior year, end of junior year, it progressively got worse. So I would try to get ready for school, and I would have at least 3 panic attacks. I would be late every single day, or I just would not show up. I got so many detentions in high school from being late because of this that honestly, like, I would joke about them with my friends that I had and just be like, oh, like, I'm so lazy, I don't care about school, anything like that. But honestly, while my mom was driving me to school, I would have a breakdown in the car, and she would have to keep driving and just driving until I could finally go. It really put attention on all my relationships, friends, boyfriends, family, everyone. Everyone hated seeing me like this, and they didn't understand, but I also didn't understand, so I couldn't explain it to them. I often got told that I was selfish, conceited, self-obsessed by my family, and I get that. I was also told that again and again that it did not matter what I looked like, and I also somewhat knew that, but in my head, I couldn't get past the way I look. So BDD is not just disliking how you look or being unhappy with your weight or anything like that. It is a true mental disorder, and it only affects 1% of the US population. Just because you might not be okay with something about yourself does not mean you have BDD. Is more habilitating than that. It honestly puts stress in your life and paralyzes you. As time went on, through school, I was applying to college, I was doing all that, and I was doing fine, but I was exhausted because every day I'd wake up and have a battle with myself. I was constantly screaming at myself, constantly fighting with myself, but in my head. And it made me feel insane, but I was exhausted by the end of the day. I spent my lunch periods in school in the nurse's office napping. I'd come home, I'd sleep for 4 hours because I was so exhausted with fighting myself. And every time I lost, I did not have the tools that I have now to win against that. As soon as I went to college, and that's when it hit, it was the worst I've ever been, and it was honestly the scariest time of my life because I didn't recognize myself. I felt as a prisoner in my body. I felt I was stuck in this body that wasn't me. I felt so disconnected from myself and obsessed with things that I thought were wrong that I couldn't live a life. I did not go out. I didn't even make it to class most days. It was horrible. I would be walking to class, bawling my eyes out with my mom on the phone because school is a priority, so I wanted to go so bad, but I couldn't. I would have breakdowns all the time. My roommate probably thought I was insane because I often was crying in the bathroom, and I couldn't go to class, and I only wore sweatshirts, sweatpants. I couldn't put myself in anything. I couldn't look in the mirror anymore because I would get so upset. It was honestly the worst time of my life. I tried joining a sorority in hopes that it would help me become more confident with other girls around me, lots of friends, but honestly that just was harder because I couldn't go to the required meetings. I couldn't do these things without having a battle and then trying to do all this while coming off as normal, which I guess I was normal, but in me I thought I was crazy. So it was all just so exhausting. When I got to the summertime, I was so unhappy that I would sit there and contemplate killing myself, hurting myself every second of the day. Every thought I had was about myself. It was about hurting myself, ending my life. I couldn't take it anymore, and these thoughts consumed me so strongly that I couldn't even fight them off. My entire day was just sitting there thinking about how much I didn't want to be alive, but at the same time I did want to be alive. I just didn't want to be me. I didn't want to be trapped in my body. I just couldn't take living anymore. It got too much. As I saw how my anxiety attacks were affecting the people I love the most, I just was heartbroken that I was doing these things to them. I knew my past self and how happy I was as a person, as a child, and I wanted to get back to that so bad. Once I started to self-harm, starve myself, and sleep 24/7, I realized that a change needed to happen, and that change wasn't going to come from me changing the way I looked. It wasn't going to come from anyone telling me that I needed this. It was going to come from me. I had a mental breakdown, and right after or during, that's when I said to my mom, I need help. I can't do this alone. I'm not strong enough. My brain is losing the battle, and I can't take it much longer. And that's when I decided to get help. I went to a hospital and institutionalized, maybe, myself because I knew I needed help, and it wasn't happening on my own. So as that began, when I realized I needed to do this, I started looking at different hospitals in the area that would take me. Honestly, this was the worst part because I knew I needed help, and when I was struggling, these hospitals wouldn't take me because they were so overpopulated or they didn't cooperate with my insurance. I had to prove myself on applications that I was mentally unstable just to get help. Now, I think that is really messed up. It's not fair that I had to wait 4 months after deciding I needed help to actually get the help I need. It only gets worse because once you get put into these places, they limit your time there based on your insurance. And also, that's not fair. If you don't feel ready to take on the world on your own, you shouldn't have to. These things should not be just you. I was in there for 5 weeks, and I've learned so much through that. The people I saw were so diverse, all different ages, all different backgrounds. It was insane how many people are affected by this mental illness that is out there, but the help is not there as it should be. That's why it's so important to talk about and treat it as it's not normal. Treat it as a priority in the system, because honestly, if I didn't have the support system I had with my mom, Brendan, some friends, my sisters, if I didn't have that, I would not have been there, because 4 months is a long time battling on your own. But to continue the issues that arise with our health system, when I was put in there, I was sitting next to one 70-year-old, and on the other side was a 32-year-old. Now, the person that was in charge of watching over us, teaching us, giving us discussion, letting us talk, was a 26-year-old female. This person would treat us as kindergartners. We had to go around, say our names, say a little bit about ourselves. Our talking was limited to 30 seconds for each exercise, and we often were cut off from giving advice to other people. In my opinion, that's just wrong, because we are not kindergartners. We are adults. Just because we're struggling and do need help does not make us less of a person. I honestly felt awkward in there, and the first 3 days I left and I didn't want to go back. I spent my entire car ride home crying because I could not handle the fact that I felt even more crazy than I did before. And then I remember one session where this guy that was so sweet, he started talking, and he brought up, I think he called them ants. Anyways, he said the voices in his head were like ants, and they would not leave him alone no matter what he did. They swarmed his brain and filled it with clutter and made it hard for anything else to be focused on. And that is when I finally felt not alone. I finally felt that I wasn't crazy, because for the past 5 years I've been describing these things in my head as voices and saying I'm hearing voices and that I can't fight them off. It made me feel insane. No one understood what I was saying, and it made it so hard to try to accept that what I had was a real thing. After that session, I remember going downstairs, calling my mom, and crying. And she says, like, oh, another bad session? And I was like, no, Mom. I was crying tears of joy because like I said, I finally felt like I connected with someone, and that this was a real thing, and that I was truly going to get help now that I knew what I had was a thing, and I was getting the tools to conquer it. Now, don't get me wrong. The help you get in there is useful, but the work you have to put in every single second of the day to get better, to establish a good mental health, to come back from where you were, is the hardest thing you'll ever do. I've never struggled with anything more. You feel like you're failing, you feel like you're backtracking. Every relapse, every extra anxiety attack, you ask why when you're putting in so much effort, but it's worth it. You're gonna put in a lot of work, but it's worth it to be happy. I promise. And on that note, I did get medicine to help me with this. It was anti-anxiety medicine and antidepressants. So I did have help from that too. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking medicine. I think you know yourself best, and you know how you're feeling. It's dangerous. Everything's dangerous. But if you know that's something you need, don't be afraid to go and get it, because sometimes just having help can be helpful. I cannot say that full recovery is possible. I haven't reached that, and I can't promote complete self-love and body positivity because I'm not there yet either. I do believe in self-acceptance though, and accepting what you have, accepting who you are is important. I struggled with BDD, and honestly, I still cannot stand sometimes the way I look, and it's hard for me, and I don't find myself attractive or anything like that, but I've gotten to a point where other things take priority. It's not in my head anymore. I'm not obsessed with it, and it doesn't consume my life. It doesn't stop me from sleeping. It really is not a thing anymore. I honestly don't care what I look like, and that feels good. It feels good to say I genuinely just don't care. I don't care if one person finds me attractive and someone else doesn't. It doesn't bother me. If I don't go on a ton of dates, I don't care. If I don't have a significant other, like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me because I'm not here to be attractive or to be something to look at. I'm here for a lot more than that. Now that I know that, now that I can say that and feel good saying that and truly believing it, it feels good. I truly am happy now, and I do have days where they feel impossible, but overall I'm happy, and I just am making this video because I want you guys to be happy too. I want you to know you are not alone. Whatever you're struggling with, you are not alone. Days are hard and life is hard. It really is. But just know you're not alone. Whatever you're feeling, your feelings don't need to be justified. They're a feeling. They're controlled by your hormones in your body. It is fine. It's okay. You are going to be okay because you are not alone. And there are resources out there to help you. You can always come to me. I will do my best to put a smile on your face. I'm not really sure I can do much, but I just, knowing you're not alone changed everything for me. And I just want you guys to feel that way too. I do know I am passionate. I am determined. I am strong mentally. And I just really want to do something. I want to make a difference. I want to show the world that mental illness is a real thing, and to always be aware of other people, because say someone freaks out at something, or someone else may talk about something a lot. It may seem annoying to you, but you don't know what's going on with them. So before you jump to conclusions about people, before you start fights or get mad or drop them as a friend, just try to be there for them, because you don't always know what's going on in someone else's head. But on that point, I want to freaking break the silence. Let's not treat mental illness as crazy. Let's not. When I say, oh, I'm not feeling well today, I don't want to go out because I'm not happy with the way I look, I don't want to feel crazy or selfish for saying that. I want them to say, I want to be able to say, yeah, my BDD is kind of bad today. I'm kind of anxious today, so I'm going to have to cancel. All those things, I want to be able to say that without them thinking, oh, it's just an excuse, because it's not an excuse. These things are mental illnesses, and they're not excuses. We have to stand together and break the silence, and the way to do that is just talk about things openly. This video, I know, is not perfect, not good. I don't know how to do a video. I feel awkward looking at myself in this camera right now, but honestly, we have to talk. If you don't talk, then nothing will change. So as you can see, the mental illness, like, in our society is already, it's fucked. Like, what I had to go through was insane. Like, you should not, there should just, no. Like, I should not struggle to try to self-hospitalize myself. I should not be treated like a kindergartner. I was put on medications by a doctor who talked to me for 5 seconds too. These things need to be fixed, because I look back at how much I struggled and how I was feeling and how I feel now, and seeing the difference and divide. I want other people to know that it's possible and that help is out there. I want them to feel safe and secure. And the way we treat mental illnesses talking about them and just like the whole hospitalization, so like medicine, all that stuff. The way we talk, if we talk about that more and we make that more of an option, then people feel more secure. So let's work on breaking that silence. Working together, be more accepting of yourself, more apologetic with yourself. Don't be harsh. You're just a human. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone struggles, and it's okay. But the more we talk about it, the more you talk about it, the more open you are with who you are and everything you've gone through, it can only get better. We can only make this better, because I want to break the silence, everyone. I want to break it. I don't want people going through what I went through. Again, I apologize, and I hope I only get better at videos, but I just wanted to share a little bit about myself as I talk about things openly on Instagram, and I try my best to always post when I'm struggling and stuff like that, not because I want attention, but because I want people to know that it's normal. It's okay to struggle. So I hope that this video, and the more I talk about it on my Instagram openly, it starts you to talk about it openly more. And with all of us, like, we can make a difference. So, yeah.